This episode is made possible by the generous support of my patrons at patreon.com/SayGoodnightKev and by viewers like you. Thanks! All right. Oh no, it's all gone, all the popcorn. Here we go. I am super excited to review this film, and a lot of you have been asking me to review it ever since it came out in theaters last year, and I promised that once it came out on DVD, I would review it, but then it came out on DVD at the end of December, and I was already working on football month, but now that that's all over, it is time. So here we go. War Room. War Room is the latest feature film by show favorites the Kendrick brothers. Having kicked off their career by enlisting the help of the congregation of their megachurch, Sherwood Baptist Church, the Kendrick brothers changed the Christian film industry with their release, Facing the Giants. Through their grassroots marketing campaign, they ended up earning $10 million at the box office. Then, after making millions off of that film, the brothers followed it up with two other movies, Fireproof and Courageous, earning over $33 million in the box office each. But now they've broken away from Sherwood Baptist Church and started their very own production studio. It's truly an amazing story. But now, having earned over $80 million total in profits from their low-budget films, it is time for them to prove themselves to the world with this $3 million film. I'm sorry, I judged that a little bit because I thought that's pretty low for having earned so much money in the past, but maybe they've got a fantastic story. And I believe I said that with my Woodlawn review, that a big budget doesn't make a great film, it's the script. If the Kendrick brothers are just really smart with their budget and have a fantastic story to tell, then who am I to judge? Other than the person who you're watching judge. Either way, despite the fact that I haven't seen a good film from these guys before, and that low budget isn't giving me a lot of reassurance, I'm sure it's gonna be fine, or it won't. There's only one way to find out, and that's to watch it. So, grab your popcorn, and let's get ready to watch the most financially successful independent Christian film of all time, War Room. This was on the floor. So the movie begins, say it with me now, with voiceover.
War. It's been a part of humanity in every age.
Also, stock war footage, a way to get explosions and action in your film without actually having to waste your budget on explosions and action. So the movie begins with this lady talking about war and all the reasons for it.
We fight for power, for riches, for rights.
For oil, for distracting the nation from an internal White House scandal.
Or for freedom. But one thing has remained true of every war.
Murder.
Behind the field of battle, someone has developed a strategy
to get rich. We learn that this lady who's talking, whoever she is, she had a husband. Isn't that interesting? And unfortunately, he died of a heart attack. But he was also in the military, so there's something you can do.
It's been 40 years since Leo passed.
40 years and a big fake wig later. Then the voiceover awkwardly draws a comparison between a military invasion of another country and the everyday situations we face in life. I believe they call this first world problems.
The many battles we engage in today.
I wish this would have been another angle of Kirk Cameron and his wife fighting in Fireproof. Kind of bring the Kendrick universes together.
Because victories don't come by accident.
But don't take my word for it. And now our story finally begins. We're introduced to our main character as we're subtly informed of everyone's name and occupation.
You must be Elizabeth Jordan.
I am. And you're Melissa?
Yes.
Real estate agent.
Software rep.
These Kendrick brothers they're masters of their craft. You know, I forgot this was one of their films. I better whip out the old expositional hammer.
My husband does the same thing. Pharmaceuticals.
Does he ever get tired of the travel?
No, I do not.
She started saying the sentence, and then it cut to him, and he's in a different scene, but yet he's finishing the sentence. I love it when movies do that. So this turns out to be the realtor's husband. And, you know, not only is he a salesman, but he's a salesman for big pharma. I get this sneaking suspicion I'm not supposed to like this guy. Is that what you're going for? I feel like that hasn't been made clear enough yet. Let's have him flirt with a woman that's not his wife.
I'm Tony Jordan.
There we go.
Veronica
Perfect.
Drake.
I guess I'll be seeing you again when I return in 2 weeks.
Then we cut to our realtor friend who's with her daughter, and they sit here and talk about her grades.
I still got 1 C.
1 C in math is not that bad.
this isn't interesting. I mean, this is more boring than a weird, awkward conversation about someone's stinky feet.
Is that your feet?
I'm sorry, baby. I ran out of foot powder.
That smells terrible.
I know, Danielle.
What?
I just need to take my shoes off for a minute.
That's like awful.
Let's just hope that through the course of these 2 hours, that jerk husband of hers ends up learning a valuable lesson about humility and washes her stinky feet.
Ew. No way.
Go set the table for dinner.
But wash your
Daddy
feet
gets home,
first.
You can show me your report card, okay?
Will he be mad about my C?
I already told you, baby. A C is not that bad.
Well, that's not a good lesson to teach children. Yeah, sure, you shouldn't be mad at her, I guess, but shouldn't you ask a few questions? Maybe work with her a little bit to help her improve? I don't know. So the jerk husband comes home and they fight about money.
I just got a notification that you moved $5,000 from our savings into your checking account. Because if you want to give them what you make, that's fine. But you're not giving them my money.
Your money?
Wait, didn't we already get this fight in another movie?
You've got $24,000 in savings, but we have things in our house that need fixing.
If you want to spend your money on that stuff, go ahead.
We learned that Liz has been giving thousands of dollars of their money to her sister, who apparently married a bum.
I'm not supporting someone who's too lazy to work.
Darren is not a bum.
He is a bum.
Like, I know that the joint checking account thing works for some marriages and doesn't work for other marriages. What do I know? But I think logic would say that if you are going to have the joint checking account, you should probably talk before you just give away thousands of dollars. This seems like a reasonable thing for him to be upset about.
Can we please just eat dinner?
Going to the gym.
You know what this film is missing? Some classic Kendrick Brothers action shots. Ah, here we go. Perfect, yeah, just point the camera at the action. And make sure you never have any of your characters talking, have them walk away from the action, sit down, and have the boring conversation there.
You all right, dog? I gotta go.
This guy's always in a hurry to go somewhere.
Hey, Tony, man, you gotta hit me one.
Come on, man, I gotta go.
Dude, I just told all these guys, you get just one.
Well, if you told all those guys, then... Whoa, a backflip! Man, Tony really saved this guy's skin, since he had already told all these guys, who seem extremely interested in Tony's backflip abilities. Then we go to church. Now, if you were worried that this film wasn't going to be preachy enough, here we go. A little Easter egg that you may have missed, the preacher is actually preaching the message of the movie in the sermon.
Because people still come to church with their hearts totally distant from the Lord.
You know, there still may be somebody out there who hasn't caught on that Tony's a jerk. Let's have him wink at a girl in church. Ha! This leads to a pretty awkward dinner.
Aren't you a little too old to be jumping rope?
I see the filmmakers went to the Lucas School of Character Development. If you want to make a character bad, just have him be mean to children. Are Christians not offended by these Christian movies constantly insulting their intelligence with these one-note characters? The next day, we find out who the heck that old lady was that we met at the very beginning.
Well, come on in. Let me show you the house.
So, since our main character is a realtor, she is selling the old lady's house. And the movie desperately wants you to look at this old lady as a Yoda or Mr. Miyagi type character, but she's nowhere near as interesting or funny.
Now, this is my third favorite place.
Oh, her third favorite room. Boy, I wonder what her first favorite room is gonna be. You know, it's really anyone's guess.
Now, this is my second favorite place.
What I really hope happens is that they drag this entire sequence out far longer than it takes anybody in the audience to figure out what they're getting at. I just love watching movies that make me feel like the filmmakers think their entire audience is stupid.
Oh, you got one of those smartphones. Can't do nothing with my phone but call folks. Must be a dumb phone.
Ha! Classic Kendrick comedy.
By the way, what's your most favorite room?
I'll tell you tomorrow.
What's it gonna be? What could possibly be the favorite room of a main character in a Christian film called War Room? Then cut to Tony at work. Oh my, he took one of those bottles. I hope that he learns his lesson about that eventually in this film. Meanwhile, Liz is getting some sound marital advice from her co-workers.
Oh, I wouldn't put up with it. His money became your money the minute he said I do. So I'd give it to my sister anyway. I don't even like my sister.
I'm sure the feeling is mutual. This has got to be a Christian author or something. She's got the Christian author hair.
You know what my mama used to say to me? Sometimes submission is learning to duck so God can hit your husband.
That's... what? This just sounds like something they would say on Focus on the Family's daily broadcast without actually thinking it through.
It's tough being a woman.
You got that right.
And you can read all about it in my new book, Your Husband is Always Wrong, but You're Always Weak. So all you can do is sit around and hope that God will eventually commit violence against him.
Then we cut over to Liz at the old lady's house. And Liz is just trying to do her job and figure out the asking price for her house. But the old lady keeps asking her all these personal questions.
Now, what did you say your husband did for a living?
He's a sales rep for Brightwell Pharmaceuticals.
Mm-hmm. So you would say you know the Lord?
Yes, I would say I know the Lord.
Let me get our coffee.
You know, when you're making a scene where a character's supposed to be bored and annoyed, you need to make it funny enough to where the audience is laughing at how bored the person is, not bored and annoyed along with the person.
I've got cream or sugar if you need.
Oh, no thank you. I like it black.
Oh, we know. So in the first 5 seconds of this conversation, it's pretty clear that Liz is not as Christian as she should be. But you know, there are some 2-year-olds in the audience who may not have picked up on that. So let's spend the next 10 minutes driving it home and land it with a physical illustration that the Bible's able to pull off in 2 verses.
Miss Clara, you like your coffee room temperature?
No, baby, mine's hot. But nobody likes it lukewarm, not even the Lord.
Point taken, Miss Clara.
Even Liz is getting annoyed with how preachy this movie's getting.
And you don't have to step on the same landmines that I did.
And other military analogies.
And this asking price is just fine.
Oh, she was listening all along.
Right.
I think it's time for me to show you my favorite place in this house.
After all this setup, we're finally gonna get a payoff. War room!
I call it my war room.
Right.
Now the music indicates that we're supposed to see this moment as significant.
And God showed me that it wasn't my job to do the heavy lifting, no.
Now, as critical as I'm being of this film, in principle, I agree with what the old lady is saying here. A lot of times we spend so much time thinking we can change the minds of someone else, and in reality, people can only change themselves. And if you're a Christian, you believe that only God can change people's hearts. And it would work perfectly as a Sunday morning sermon, or a 5-minute YouTube video, or a movie with characters I actually care about.
I don't have time to pray that much every day.
But you apparently have time to fight losing battles with your husband.
Oh, snap!
I see in you a warrior that needs to be awakened.
Great warrior. Wars not make one great.
Later that evening, we find out that Liz's daughter is quite the master of guilt tripping.
You know we love you, right?
I guess.
What's my team name?
The Firecrackers.
That was last year. What are our colors?
Okay, we get it.
Who's my new coach?
We get it.
What award did I win last week on my team?
Okay, yes, she's a bad mom, we get it.
You won an award last week.
Hey, I guess don't ask the question if you don't want the answer. The next day, she goes back to the old lady's house. Now, I'm not in the realtor business, so I'm not exactly sure how this all works, but I'm pretty sure this isn't how you're supposed to spend your time with your clients. So Elizabeth spends this time complaining about her husband.
And another thing, I don't have proof of this, but if he's not getting it from me, he's got to be getting it from somebody. To other women that just
Elizabeth,
Let's keep it PG.
your thoughts about your husband are almost entirely negative, aren't they? Who said that it was your responsibility to fix Tony?
See, another great message that would fit perfectly inside their 5-minute YouTube video.
And men don't like it when their women's always trying to fix them?
Shoot! Apparently in all the one scene we saw them together in, she's always trying to fix Tony.
I don't even know where to start.
You will find some of my favorite scriptures in here.
Here's the book we're trying to sell for the movie.
You can start with that.
Oh boy, you know what time it is. Starting to learn a lesson montage. And because they're a black family, of course, it needs to be a gospel song. Then we get another one of the Kendrick brothers' classic comedy scenes. You know, the I'm trying to do the right thing, but since I'm not experienced at being a Christian, I'm doing it all wrong. Cue those pizzicatos.
Mom, are you okay?
When did you get a Sprite endorsement?
Why are you eating chips in the closet?
And why are you drinking that deliciously refreshing Sprite?
Okay. What's that smell?
That would be my shoes, Jennifer.
feet. I'm just gonna say it right here, right now. I don't think the Kendrick brothers are funny. There, I said it. Then Tony gets a raise.
You know, even Tom was impressed, and you know that's hard to do.
He wasn't even impressed that one time when I won all those football games.
Oh, so now we get the second scene with the couple in the marriage that supposedly we care about.
And Liz takes this rare opportunity to ask Tony for more money that she could burn in her giant oven. Give to her irresponsible sister.
Listen, I'm not asking for $5,000 anymore. I'm asking for 1 month's rent and a car payment.
And the next month, you'll be asking for the same thing, Liz, so the answer is still no.
Finally, somebody is saying it the way it is. Oh, we're not supposed to like what he's saying? He's the only one making any logical sense.
If you won't do it for her, do it for me.
Ah, this is where your daughter learned to manipulate.
No.
Then we go to the gym with Tony where he talks to his friend. Didn't we already get this scene in another movie?
That treadmill's not broken, but if you don't know how to run it, it ain't gonna work for you.
In fact, have you guys noticed that this is the exact same story arc as Fireproof?
A spouse that works in the medical field and is contemplating having an affair with someone that he works with. But things start to turn around when an old person with a magical book that teaches them that all they have to do is pray and the marriage will get fixed.
In fact, the only thing missing is the whole firefighter gimmick, which actually gave us some action scenes. Not good action scenes, but they were there.
He even has his friend who gives him marriage advice through easily mistaken double entendres.
Dude, you married her junk and all. It's not like some sort of buffet where you get to pick and choose what you want. So you trying to do CPR on my personal life now?
The only way we know how to make Christian illustrations is through emergency response workers.
Yeah, I'm a paramedic, but I'm also a Christian.
Meanwhile, Liz, her daughter, and the old lady are hanging out at the park.
You don't enjoy your job?
Well, I don't enjoy it as much as I enjoy a delicious and refreshing can of Sprite or anything. But then, on their way back to the car, the worst thing possible happens.
Give me money right now.
No. Now you put that knife down right now. In the name of Jesus.
That's right, people. If you truly love Jesus, then this is how you would respond to a knife-wielding maniac. Seriously, this doesn't seem irresponsible to anyone. In fact, this whole movie seems to want to encourage irresponsible behavior. From the report card comment, to her hanging out all day at that old lady's house when she's supposed to be working, to this knife incident, to her giving thousands of dollars to her irresponsible sister. And I'm just halfway through the movie.
I want you to write down everything that you can think of that he's done wrong.
And cut to an exterior shot, and cut back to the same scene. We then get a 5-minute sermon from the old lady about grace.
And again, I don't initially disagree with the message. I mean, yeah, we could all give a little more grace to each other, but that doesn't change the fact that the scene is boring and poorly written.
It's time for you to fight for your marriage. It's time for you to fight the real enemy.
So Liz goes to her house and sets up her own war room. Just at that moment, Liz gets a text from her friend letting her know that she's seen Tony in Atlanta with another woman.
Then, through the power of prayer, she prevents her husband from having an affair. I didn't mean to make that rhyme.
He's doing something wrong. Don't let him get away with it. Stand in his way.
Interesting that she's still talking about her husband, but now to God.
You know what I really like right now?
To be in a real movie?
A glass of my favorite wine.
Well, if it's your favorite, I'd like to try it.
Could you two get a room? Then suddenly, there's a miraculous movement.
I need a minute. I'll be right back.
Trusting the wrong diarrhea medicine can put you in a very uncomfortable position, but you can count on Imodium AD to stop diarrhea.
Submit to God. Resist the devil.
So then, in an effort to resist the devil, she begins praying to Satan.
I don't know where you are, devil.
This doesn't seem like resistance to me.
But I know you can hear me. No more.
New taxes.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but
emptying out your closet, praying to the devil, screaming into the night.
You can't have my marriage.
These are the actions of a crazy person, right?
You sure can't have my man.
But I get so lonely down here. Tell me, why does it have to be that way?
This house is under new management. And that means you are out.
They say I don't belong. I must stay below, alone.
So go back to hell where you belong.
Whoa, we could say hell now? Well, I'm gonna make a supercut real quick.
You sure as hell can't have my man. And leave my family alone.
don't want you talking to that guy. He is weird.
So now, since you guys are probably too stupid to figure out what's going on, let's have this little kid come in and ask a bunch of even more basic, obvious questions.
What happened to your closet?
I'm learning how to pray.
By cleaning out your closet?
No. Well, yes, but no. I mean...
You know, it's been a little while since we've had a learning montage to an obviously Christian song. Oh, there we go. We find out that since she's been praying so hard, she's been spending all of her time in her closet. 'Cause that's a good lesson too. And of course, there is always that moment in a Kendrick Brothers film that I genuinely laugh. And I always wonder if it's because it's actually funny or if it's just because I'm bored out of my mind. Anyway, this is that moment when.
This is a present for my daughter. I can't wait to give it to her.
Well, I hope it takes your breath away.
So when Tony comes home, he finds Liz's phone and realizes she knew about the secret meetup with that lady and hasn't said anything yet. This leads to another kind of funny moment which gets ruined immediately by the Kendrick brothers having to drag it out way longer than it needs to.
I should have just waited till later to bring it up. My mind was just racing, so I took it out on you.
See, because she's acting nice and he's not sure what's going on here.
You want mild or wrath of God?
I don't want wrath of God. Let me have the other one.
Wrath of God, yes! You connected your universes, thank you! Tell you what, Kendrick Brothers, the last 10 minutes of your film have been packed with 3 moments that weren't absolutely the worst thing ever. You're really on a roll. I hope you don't ruin it, but I know you will right now.
What do you want, Liz?
Well, I would kill for a hot fudge sundae, whipped cream, just mounds of whipped cream on top. And 1 cherry. 1 cherry. And my feet are killing me. Man, I would love a foot rub.
This isn't funny.
Liz, I'm not rubbing your feet.
Okay.
Then Tony loses his job. Who's the bum now, you jerk?
I just got fired, okay? So that means no income, no company car, no health coverage.
But we still have Obamacare. Then we get this dream sequence. And it turns out the whole movie was all a dream. See, for about 2 seconds there, I thought that he was gonna see that all the clothes were gone and think that she was moving out. And then we would have a moment of conflict and that would have been kind of interesting. But then I realized I was watching a Kendrick Brothers film.
So the whole closet was empty?
Yeah.
When's the last time you heard of a woman giving up some closet space?
Haha, women.
Excuse me. Can you tell Danielle I'll be back to get her after practice?
Sure, I'll tell her.
Thank you.
My pleasure.
Huh, she must work at Chick-fil-A in real life. And now we have the Kendrick Brothers field moment, which doesn't take place in a field, so good job at switching up your location. He becomes a Christian, and everything changes. He becomes a good dad, a good husband. He goes and tells his bosses that he was stealing. Wow, everything gets fixed in a Kendrick Brothers film? I never thought that was gonna happen. Remember there was a time when this movie was about some old lady? Wonder what happened to her.
And this just happened now.
Here we go. Okay, before we go on, get ready. This is the scene that was specifically designed to get all the church groups laughing, and it's not funny at all.
Oh, devil! You just got your butt kicked!
That old lady said but it was about Satan, so it makes it okay. It's so funny, let's drag it out way longer than it should.
All right, hallelujah. My God is good. My God is good, and he's
all right, so at this point, the movie, it should be over since it's been going on longer than any movie like this should, but we've got so many loose ends we still have to wrap up. What happened to the drugs he stole? What does she do about her stinky feet? What about the daughter's jump rope competition? Does the father ever inexplicably join the competition? Does the old lady eventually sell her house even after Liz did absolutely nothing in order to work on selling it? Does the old lady eventually get a smartphone? Does the movie end with some sort of sappy exchange between Liz and the old lady on her deathbed in some sort of last-ditch effort to inject some kind of emotion into these characters? Well, if you've ever seen a Kendrick Brothers film, you know that they'll spend the next 40 minutes answering all but one of those questions. So Tony goes to his old boss to let him know that he's been stealing these drugs. I mean, anybody who's dressed like Bill Nye in a Christian film, definitely the bad guy.
Tony, it doesn't make sense that you would do this after you've already been terminated.
Only a Christian would do something like this.
Because I needed to ask for your forgiveness.
Forgiveness.
But his old boss wants 2 days to think about it.
Then I want 2 days to think about it.
Well, gee, I wonder what his conclusion will be at the end of those 2 days. So why did they include those 2 days?
Well, so we could have one more montage while the audience sits here waiting for what they already know is going to happen.
Then it happens.
So I've chosen to believe you. I can't give you your job back, but I've decided not to prosecute.
Now, I'm not saying not to do what Tony did, but I am saying that in the real world, your old boss would make sure you got the harshest punishment possible. And if it was a Christian organization, they would do that, plus they would throw you to the wolves and never speak to you again.
Tony, that was grace.
And no, actually, Liz, that was my old boss. Anyway, check out this stupid scene.
What are you doing?
Someone's been praying in this closet.
That was her prayer closet. How did you know that?
It's almost like it's baked in.
Why do Christian movies have to have made-up magic? How does that prove your faith is real?
Retired pastor wanna buy my house. She texted me on my new smartphone on the way over here. I've already downloaded a couple prayer apps and got a couple gospel songs.
Okay, then we get another 5-minute sermon from the old lady. Ugh, what a long movie. Then, as the family's on their way to their jump roping competition, Tony sees his old boss Bill Nye and decides that he'll help him.
Why did you do that?
Because that's how I want to be treated, Daniel.
Because that should be your motivation whenever helping people. Okay. Remember that long, stupid, completely unnecessary montage dancing sequence at the end of Saving Christmas? Well, get ready, because that was nothing compared to what you're about to see right now.
With the speed round, here we go!
Oh good, the speed round. Cue the Toby Mac music. Seriously, this contest is over 5.5 minutes, and it has nothing to do with the movie.
So after all of that, we finally get the stinky feet payoff.
What's wrong? I'm eating my favorite dessert while my husband is rubbing my feet.
Then we get this inspirational speech juxtaposed with a bunch of shots of things that Americans love to associate with their faith,
including public schools, the government, Charlotte's minor league baseball team, and Mexican food.
Raise them up, Lord, raise them up!
Oh, that passage is from 2 Chronicles. So that was War Room, another extremely overhyped Christian film, and another movie that I cannot believe anybody paid any attention to, and yet, here we are, the biggest Christian film of all time, kind of. I don't get it. I mean, are there things in the film that I like? I mean, I guess there's a few things in the movie that I agree with, but that certainly doesn't make a good movie. There are things that I would agree with about a local furniture commercial. They do have low prices. It can't be denied. But would that commercial be a great piece of cinema? But like I said before, the message of this film could have easily been put into a simple 5-minute YouTube video. The only reason to make a full film out of the message would be to put it into a compelling story, and that's not what was done here. And like many Christian films, this movie seemed to have an identity crisis. It didn't know what message it was trying to convey. I mean, is it about marriage, charity, salvation, prayer, faith, grace, forgiveness, fatherhood? It's all over the place. In fact, the whole story is completely pointless. When is somebody going to tell the Kendrick brothers that they're not funny and their story is old? I mean, I've already seen this movie twice, Fireproof and in Facing the Giants. Something's going bad, then they pray, and then it's all fixed. It's the exact same movie. Listen, Kendrick brothers, I know you have 2 big inflated egos because you've made so much money off your films, and so you think they must be good, right? But they're not. I get so tired of these fake miracles inside of films that are supposed to prove that faith is real. It's like you think that if you trick people into hearing this sermon, then they'll finally believe. I know it's hard to believe that there are people out there who have actually heard the gospel message and still didn't believe, but it's true. People have heard it a lot. You know what's a little more rare? Actually seeing it. See, what people are seeing are insecure Christians who think that their faith needs to be affirmed by the world or lied about in order for it to be real. Who would want to be a part of that?
The main problems I have with the script is, one, their focus isn't on telling a good story, but it's on pushing a specific message. It's propaganda and agenda driven. This is made evident from the very beginning.
The film begins with a flashback scene that, instead of setting up the characters and the story, it sets up the message.
Time they could have spent setting up the two people in the relationship that we're supposed to care about, which leaves the impression that the filmmakers aren't invested in these characters, so why should you be?
The problem here is that this film failed to accomplish in 2 hours what Up was able to do in the first 10 minutes. It was so intent on the message that it forgot to add any heart.
And second, the message that they're trying to say isn't very well thought out. It feels like a top 10 hit list of the things that Christians want to hear in a movie in order for them to buy a ticket.
It's made by two guys who have made millions of dollars on their films, but still expect to be treated like the independent Christian underdog. They refuse to hire good writers or speak to their audience as if they're older than a 2-year-old, out of fear that someone might not get the message. Well, I happen to know a guy who told stories to people all the time and didn't worry about whether people got the message or not, and his name was Jesus. In the end, the movie, it's nothing. It's absolutely nothing. It's not a step forward for Christian films. It's just more proof that you can make anything for Christians as long as it's extremely on the nose with the things that Christians want to hear. I don't recommend the film. I hated watching it. I hate even more that we live in a world where professing Christians think that this is a good movie, because it's not. Not even close. I'll see you guys next time. I'm Kevin, holding Christian movies up to the same standard as other films. Good night. Hey, big shout out to Brendan Neely for his generous contribution to my Patreon, patreon.com/saygoodnightkev. You can give there if you like the show and if you feel inspired to do so. If you want to see other episodes of my movie reviews, you can check them out. I've got links here. That's all I gotta say. I'll see you guys next time. Good night.
I'm eating my favorite dessert while my husband is rubbing my feet.